Welcome back, everyone, to The Creative Moment, Episode 7. I am your co-host, Dante Bullhauer.
And Jamie Bullhauer.
And we're a podcast that talks all things creative, how it plays into our lives. I'm a photographer, he's a writer, and let's get right into it. We have the Bubbler jersey for the first time ever seen on camera. So this is a big day today. Today, we are talking why we create in the first place. Now, I feel like over this past year, I've kind of learned a lot about kind of why I create and kind of discovered more of what I actually enjoy about creating. And there's kind of two sides of the coin here, where there's creating for yourself and then there's creating for other people. And so...
And I was thinking about that for you, because your job is to create artistic moments for others. I'm like, how do you bridge, because much of your photography is for somebody else anyway, and then obviously your nature ones, which are for you. So I'm interested to hear this, how you bridge that.
So I'll bring up two different examples, one of each side. So one of my favorite parts about being in this creative realm is the ability to share something that you made and just kind of see their reaction, hear their thoughts on the work that you made for them. And I'll bring up these two Hastings College volleyball players that I made some, I had some graphic design work. I designed some posters for them. And I framed them up and brought them to them. And that, to see their reaction of, looking at it, they were super thrilled about it. That was just one of those moments that solidified, okay, this is why I do this, is because it gives people a moment like this and they can keep that poster for, forever. And so creating for others in that sense was just so fulfilling for me to be able to see their reaction and stuff.
Side note, that you framed and gave them the physical copy instead of just giving them a digital file. As we've talked about last, I think that heightens the artistic energy and stuff for them. That's a much cooler way to present the art for somebody instead of just, hey, on
send
Instagram,
it to them on text. Yep.
Just, hey, look, what do you think?
Yeah, and so that is what I love about creating the most, is sharing it with other people, having other people enjoy my work as much as I enjoyed, giving it to them, making it for them, that type of thing. Then there's the other flip side, which is what I've kind of learned here over the past 6 months, creating for yourself. Now, I went to the NIDA conference where they talked about if you create something and never share it, you are being selfish. And I understand that point of view, you're not sharing your gift with the world, whatever, but there are very many times when I sit here and I think I have not fulfilled my own creative battery in a long time. I've taken a lot of senior photos this summer. I've done a lot of stuff for other people just over the past couple months. And it's fun and I enjoy it and it's fulfilling. But at some point there's obviously certain shots that seniors want to get. They want to get their sports, this, that, the other, where maybe I want to get something that wouldn't necessarily make a good senior photo, so that's not really serving them and doing my job well. And so I went to the Adams County Fair a couple weeks ago and just went out there with the sole purpose of taking photos that I was going to enjoy editing, that I was going to enjoy photographing. And as much as, yes, I believe there are some, if you don't ever share your creative gift, that's selfish, but there is an extent where I took those photos for no other purpose other than because I wanted to kind of recharge that creative battery. I wanted to just enjoy taking photos and not be somewhat constrained by, well, this is a senior photo shoot. You obviously want to get their face in it, but what if this would look cool? None of those rules. I could just go out and shoot and edit the way that I wanted to without any restrictions. So those are my two kind of examples on creating for others and creating for yourself and kind of the pros of both. hear your thoughts.
So, but before, because again, photography and every creative expression is a little bit unique and has its own, and you are blessed to have this kind of as your job. But even as, so basically kind of like our debate last time though, do you take photography, do you take photos and do photography for yourself or for other people?
I do it, like, I still shared those photos that I took at the fair. I wanted other people to see them. But in terms of, I did those photos specifically more for how it would make me feel to take them and to be like, oh, that's cool. Like, I wanted to get that shot. More so than I did to share them with others and have other people appreciate it. However, my main foundation of photo, video, graphic design is to provide other people with memories or emotions or reactions that are positive, that they're like, oh yeah, like I just got an email back. I sent over kind of a sneak peek senior edit just because I was really excited to edit the photos, and the mom would just like raved about me. Like I was like, okay, we need to come down a little bit. Like, it's gonna boost my ego a little too much, but that is why I do it at the very root of it. Sometimes, yes, I do need to go do something for me just to recharge that creative energy, but the main purpose and the biggest purpose, which I think is at the root of all fulfilling jobs or just whatever, is it makes other people happy and makes other people feel good.
And not that it isn't both. Even so, for you visual learners, so you lean.
Yes, I lean towards doing it for others.
Okay,
but I'm just as fulfilled after a senior shoot, I think, as they are, because I'm like, these are good photos. Like, I enjoyed taking photos because that's just my passion and stuff.
So as a writer, and obviously since I've traveled a lot and stuff, had a lot of thinking time.
Been on the road this summer.
Yep. And if you didn't know, my word for the year was miles, and I definitely have fulfilled that. And I don't want to speak for all writers, but I honestly think to a degree, the expression of creativity through writing lanes, for you visual learners, towards fulfillment of the self, of dealing, because writing has always been a stress relief, a psychological process, a way to actually even understand yourself a little bit. And even Robert Frost's famous poem, Road Less Traveled, is actually about a moment with a friend that he was capturing, and he didn't know at that time it was going to maybe be the most quoted poem in graduation speeches ever, but it's like, that was a recording of dealing with that moment. And I think a lot of writers do that it starts that way. Okay. John Keats, ode, oh shoot. Wow, I just brain freeze. Ode to a Nightingale was about his the world just is horrible right now, and that's what that whole poem is about. That's just him being on the page. But as the English teacher kicks in, of the rule of, like I talk about in class, is that you always write your first draft for you, just that's for you. Then you have to do the work for the reader. Because that you're trying to build a bridge there from your own perspective and share that, with the world, through poetry, blogs, short stories or things like that. But interestingly enough, when you start to take your thoughts and then you start to consider the reader, in this case, just for writing, you start to see your craft. And so as this gets a little deep, a little bit quick, and that craft then builds your creativity, which builds yourself up better, and you actually get in a way a cool positive cycle of doing your art, but then considering what the viewer or the reader, and that in a sense flips a mirror back to you so that you understand your own creativity, which connects to kind of that debate we had about the comfort zone a little bit, but it allows you, to grow and to actually become even to a degree stronger in your creative work. That artistic aspect of mine for writing leans towards the self, and I think a lot of writers would agree, not everybody, but the edits, the final product, all those things, those are actually done to share. Which, though, in photography, you hardly any of your photos are just like mine, just what I take on my phone. Oh, that looks cool. Because you actually work for the viewer, for the senior, and then in a sense, I think that creates another positive cycle, though. So then you learn, you got different shots, you got different edits and things that you do.
Yeah, and so that's where, it's kind of like the what helps me helps you, what helps you helps me kind of thing, because like what would your poems be, your short stories be if no one ever saw them, no one ever read them? Like if you never shared them for the world, there wouldn't be some of that gratification and reward of this person leaving a positive review, like that type of thing. And so in a way, affecting the consumer in a positive way also has a reverse effect back on you because they enjoyed your work, and so that's kind of a you're sharing it for them, but you're also sharing it hoping that you get some back too.
Yeah.
And so it is that positive cycle of just kind of reward all around type thing.
Well, we just moved to our challenge, which we, if you watched our video last time and things like that we set up a challenge for you guys to do. We actually got at least one person that I could find through the writing community and stuff that took our challenge. We understand that life is busy and stuff like that, so we'll have other challenges later. But we both completed the challenge, but we thought we'd start and share we did get a poem. And if you remember, our challenge was through your art, tell us about the emotion sorrow without telling us it's sorrow. Okay?
No cliches, no like kind of just the easiest basic, like for photography, someone was crying, that type of thing.
Yeah.
So
this is from Twitter, from CN Kellick. And she wrote a poem, and it goes, "A tragedy brewing. How do I weather this storm? A cyclone of pain followed by the strikes, reliving the moment of loss, nothing more than tears for comfort. Thundering deeper into darkness, deafened by heartache from truth that has no understanding, loss so intense my eternal connection is broken. A single tear manifest monsoons from choice or chance makes no difference when agony saturates every solitary moment. Knowing I must endure, there is no fighting it, there is no denying it, there is no hiding from it. Yet, if I embrace it, I may learn through the echoes of pain hailing down on my thoughts, but only when my heart calms the tragedies of the storm." Okay, so we got a metaphor there that sorrow is like a storm. So thank you, CN Kellick on Twitter. We'll have other challenges later for you guys, but we also completed it. Since you started it, what happened? How'd it go? What did you do?
So thinking about this challenge and really almost overthinking it to the point of like, is this too obvious of sorrow? Like there was a lot of time spent just kind of like, okay, what can I do to kind of flip it on its head almost? And the photo that I came up with is not at all like I don't know. I'll just show it to you. I'll put it up on screen. So it's a sunset. And this was after a senior shoot, so it's a pretty just kind of basic photo. I just kind of wanted to snap it, but how I kind of thought about it in that moment was I was going home from a senior shoot, and I was alone. I was just driving home, and I thought about, we've had some great sunsets this summer, and it's always a good sunset when I take my actual camera out instead of my phone to snap it. And so while I was sitting there thinking about it, and I just kind of parked there for a little bit, I rolled down the window and was just kind of like taking in, the environment, the breeze, that sort of thing. I kept thinking about, there's a lot of people that will post like, oh, grandpa painted a beautiful sunset tonight, or, someone, a loved one that they had lost. They see them, they feel them through these sunsets. And it's not necessarily always sorrow, but there is that longing to it where, like this sunset may have been someone, just reminiscing on their patio or something about, a lost loved one. And so something as joyful and as cool to watch as a sunset can be, kind of an emotional moment of, it tells a different story for everybody watching it. And so that was kind of what came to mind when I took this photo, was someone is wishing that they were watching a sunset with the person that they kind of relate that sunset to. And so that's kind of how I tried to make it as least cliche as possible by taking something kind of happy and morphing it into, not necessarily a super always sad experience, but for those people, I'm sure there is some sorrow in watching that sunset, as well as just kind of gratefulness and things like that.
Yeah. Well, and actually it's kind of cool that instead of a staged photo, which is still cool, like it was one of those in the moment type of situations, and being prepared, being ready, and actually having the challenge like in your head, it kind of spurred that. So I actually wrote a poem, and I actually have it on my Creative Corner blog, because I actually have two versions of it. I'll share the final one, but when I thought of the idea, how do you write about sorrow, and the image of a solitary tree out on the horizon, okay? And then when I traveled to Wyoming, that actually reinforced that feeling. And I wrote my first draft. I just wrote it in my voice, my style, like free verse, and it actually ended up being kind of cool, but it doesn't quite paint the picture of sorrow. So then, and I just like, okay, this kind of leans to a different kind of message. So then I chose a poetic form. I decided, okay, I'm going to edit for the reader, and I'm going to use a more specific, more poetic kind of a poem. And so I wrote a Shadorma poem, and this has each stanza has a syllable count for each line. So there, I had to change some things a little bit to make it, but I think it ends with a painting of sorrow and what I think of it. So the final version, and the poem is called Like a Tree. Like a tree, solitary on horizon of the mixed grass prairie, sage and cactus speckled green in sea of sun-drenched buttes. You wonder what storm could bring a single seed to such a dry land, break the ground apart, drop it deep enough to give the tree a chance to grow all alone in this bare world. You sigh as you feel your heart beat. And so in that whole process, as I was saying, so I use the simile, so it's supposed to, you're feeling sorrow is like a solitary tree, so.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I think with both yours and the other poem that we read, you both use the word storm kind of in the sense of, when you are feeling down or whatever, when you're feeling kind of overwhelmed, it can easily become kind of a chaotic scene. And so, thank you to CN Kellick.
Yeah.
Thank you to her for doing our challenge. Those were our two entries, obviously two different mediums, so you kind of get a wide range of how to express them type thing. We will have other challenges in the future, some similar to this, some just completely different.
Like you write something.
Yeah,
you
like
know?
we'll flip our creative.
Challenge you guys to
jobs
step
here.
out of your comfort zones.
Yes, instead of us doing all the hard work, why do you guys pull your own weight? But with that was the Creative Moment, episode 7. I hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll see you in a couple weeks.